Member for Castries East.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, just want to add my words of support to this amendment, Mr. Speaker. And as both speakers before me have alluded, this amendment started a long time ago. I think it's 1998 to 1998, 97, yeah. And at that time, I remember as Minister of Commerce, we started speaking about the Consumer Protection Bill, and there was a lot of fear and issues relating to it as far as the business people were concerned, the business sector. They thought that the bill was skewed against them, and there was quite a lot of debate and consultation and back and forth. I think there was some consultancy. The consumer protection bill was a matter that created a lot of disquiet at the time. And we've grown, we've developed, Mr. Speaker, and then came again in 2016. And then Prime Minister thought there was need for consultation. This time, I think the issue was with the Bar Association. And I'm glad that we've consulted with the Bar Association, and we have a bill that's acceptable to everyone, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I just want to reiterate the emphasis of this government on putting people first. If you look at our history, and now our history, albeit in this cabinet of national unity, we have systematically gone about seeing about people, Mr. Speaker. Our first pronouncement, facility fees for people, we've done that. Our second pronouncement, helping people return to school, we've done that. Our third, Mr. Speaker, expunging the records for people with minor offenses, COVID. And talking about COVID, Mr. Speaker, I do want you to if your leave, Mr. Speaker, to implore the people of St. Lucia to follow the COVID protocols. The Minister of Health has made it clear. This is not the time for political grandstanding, Mr. Speaker. And I want to make it clear. When we were in the opposition, we never for one moment, never. And the records are clear. Because these days, people say whatever they want, even forgetting the records. When we spoke about COVID when we were in opposition, there was no Delta variant. What we said at this time, we always said to people, obey the protocols. We always said it in this people. We always said, obey the protocols. We, as a political party, we refuse to have public gatherings because of these protocols. When we won the election in July, we did not hold our thank you rally, our thank you motorcade, because of protocols and COVID, Mr. Speaker. So when I read, particularly from people, and I'm coming back to the consumer, talking about consumer protection, Mr. Speaker, protecting the consumer against COVID. The consumer against COVID, Mr. Speaker. So when I read, Mr. Speaker, from people who refuse to understand that they have lost the elections, they refuse to understand it. They refuse to understand it, Mr. Speaker, that the transition has taken place and there is a new government. And we didn't put ourselves in power, Mr. Speaker. The people put us here. The people of St. Lucia had their choice and they put us in power to work with them, Mr. Speaker. So when I see these things about trying to tie COVID with politics and trying to say you said this and you said that and dealing with almost trying to celebrate the fact that there is a fourth wave, Mr. Speaker, it's hurtful. It's really hurtful because the fourth, any of us here, Mr. Speaker, can contract COVID. Any of us. So don't try to make political points because the figures, the numbers are surging now, Mr. Speaker. It's unfair. And then there's something called retribution. And what you look for, Mr. Speaker, careful what you ask for. Because when you lie and you malign, Mr. Speaker, it comes back to hit you, Mr. Speaker. So this bill is just a continuation of our philosophy of putting people first, Mr. Speaker. And that one in particular gives people the opportunity to register their complaints and their dissatisfaction when they purchase any goods or services that is not to the best standard, Mr. Speaker. And that reminds me also of the Bureau of Standards, which I'm sure will work together, will be able to help in the Consumer Protection Act, Mr. Speaker. And again, the Bureau of Standards was expanded when we were in government and I was Minister for Commerce. So, Mr. Speaker, it's a very pleasant feeling to be in this Parliament passing these people-centered legislation. I want to commend the Minister of Commerce and the former Minister of Commerce, Mr. Speaker. I know he had the will, but I've spoken to him privately about there's need for a little more than will, Mr. Speaker. There's the need for association. So even if you have the best of will, but your association is bad, the will not get you anywhere. Yeah, so Mr. Speaker, the member for Choiseul was involved in that. And I'm sure he had the will he wanted to bring there. He wanted to bring there. I'm sure he wanted to bring there, Mr. Speaker. But the forces were against him. The forces, and he won't admit it. Because I understand. But the forces were, because you see, Mr. Speaker, there's a basic philosophical difference between the Labour Party and the party he stands for. Basic. Our philosophy is based on people. Our philosophy is based on ensuring that there is meritocracy. Our philosophy is based on ensuring that education is the key. And look at our history. Universal secondary school education, computers in schools, and now we're going for universal childhood education, Mr. Speaker. So this consumer bill, this consumer amendment is just another of our people-centered legislation, Mr. Speaker. So I am happy to be associated with its final passage, Mr. Speaker, and I hope that there can be no abuse, because we can't abuse the system. We should not abuse the system, Mr. Speaker. There should not be any abuse, and people should use many times people do not acquaint themselves with what's available to them. And I'm sure the Ministry of Commerce will further educate the general public on the provisions of the Consumer Protection Amendment Act and the Consumer Protection Act generally, where the public can be educated, Mr. Speaker. Now, Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I want to congratulate everyone, and I want to tell the people of St. Lucia that this government continues in the track of putting people first. There will be a number of people-centered legislation that will come to this honorable house. In spite of the economic peril that we find ourselves, find ways and means of assisting the people of St. Lucia. The people of St. Lucia, Mr. Speaker. And that is what we are about. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for your indulgence. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.